Hey everybody, thanks for joining me today. This is a little different format than I usually do, but just trying something new. So we're going to now talk about Strasburg, a little bit of the history, the location, what it's known for. So first of all, the location. So Strasburg is pretty much 3.5 miles south of Route 30 along, if you just follow 896 the whole way down, you go right into Strasburg. So it's really centrally located on the southern-ish end of Route 30 and 340 areas, but it's very close to many locations. I mean, Miller's, Kay's Kitchen, Sight and Sound, and of course all the trains are all very, very close within just a few miles of Strasburg. So what Strasburg is known for is really trains. It's really kind of nicknamed Train Town, USA. Not only do you have the Strasburg Railroad, you also have the Choo Choo Barn, which is an amazing miniature railroad setup. You had the Railroad Museum in Pennsylvania. You have the National Toy Train Museum, and then you have the Red Caboose Motel, which is literally a bunch of train cars that were converted into hotel rooms. Very, very cool to see. As well as on that property is Casey Jones Restaurant. There's a lot of high reviews about that restaurant. I've yet to go there, but it's on my list. And then finally, I'm going to mention Village Green's miniature golf course, which is just west of town. It's a super amazing miniature golf course with 2 different courses. You can spend hours there going through the beautiful landscape of their miniature golf course. So another fun place to go in Strasburg. And for you movie buffs out there, a lot of the filming of the movie Witness was done near and around Strasburg. So that's kind of a fun fact. Now, in addition to the places to see, as far as activities are concerned, you also can just be in Strasburg and just look at the beautiful architecture and buildings and style. It is a beautiful town. We're going to talk a little bit about how this came to be such a beautiful town. Like many of the other really cool towns in Lancaster County, the history of Strasburg dates back to the 1700s, so quite a long time ago for this region. This town gets its name from the French city of Strasbourg. It was named by an early settler who was from that region in France. So originally, where the Strasburg Railroad line is now, it used to be the old Conestoga Road, and it was the main trade route between Philadelphia and areas to the west. So because of this, as the trade grew, the community grew, and by 1759 there were 32 taxable properties in the town, including about 10 hotels. Not surprisingly, many of the earliest settlers were Swiss or German Mennonites, and several church congregations were formed during this time, and the first actual church was built in 1807 by the Methodists. In 1792, the Lancaster and Philadelphia Turnpike was built, which kind of made all the traffic bypass Strasburg. It was about 4 miles north of Strasburg, which paved the way for using that road for something else, which eventually became the Strasburg Railroad. So about 1 year later, in 1793, construction of the Strasburg Railroad began, and it mostly followed Old Conestoga Road. By 1815, there were roughly 90 houses in Strasburg, half of which were 2-story, which really indicated quite a wealthy population who lived there. So at that time, there were 53 log houses, 29 brick houses, and 4 limestone houses. About half of the log houses survived until today, as well as 12 of the brick houses, and all 4 stone houses. So I think that's pretty amazing and very cool to know they have survived this long. Just shows you the craftsmanship of the workers back then, really. In addition to the ones I mentioned, there are about 150 other houses that were built all before 1900 that are all currently in the historic district of Strasburg. Speaking of the Strasburg Historic District, it has about 206 contributing buildings in Strasburg, and this really just kind of puts Strasburg at the top of the list as far as the number of historical places and registered places in Lancaster County. To put that in perspective, Lidditz, which is also another beautiful town, they have 113 registered historical places and buildings. The town of Intercourse has about 64. So Strasburg is really quite up there in the amount of preserved historical national registered places they have. So the architectural style of Strasburg is mostly Georgian, Federal, and German vernacular, which I had no idea what any of that meant, so I had to look it up. And basically has a lot to do with symmetry. So you're going to see buildings that have the same on both sides. It's kind of like, it's all symmetrical. Nothing kind of crazy out of sorts and out of balance. Very symmetrical buildings. To quote askthearchitect.org, the Georgian style utilized many of the hallmarks of the Renaissance design. For example, Georgian homes and buildings often had rigid symmetry in building mass, in window and door placement, and even in the layout of the interior rooms. So that kind of gives you a specific description of what the Georgian was, and then the other two are kind of very similar to that. I definitely applaud Strasburg for preserving these buildings and making an effort to do so. It's just a beautiful town to walk through and see in all seasons. I have to say that as a person who grew up 45 minutes away in York County, Strasburg was the town I knew from a very young age, because that's when we would go that's where we went to ride the railroad. And that's what I remember as a kid was, okay, we're going to Strasburg. It's a big day in our family. Didn't happen a lot, maybe once a year or so. But I even took a field trip there one time with my class. So this is definitely the town that probably is one of the most famous towns, I would say, in Lancaster County because of the trains and just the history of the trains. That's a whole other video, though. Maybe someday we'll do a video on the really cool history of the Strasburg Railroad. So that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Mostly you probably watched the beginning when it was the beautiful walk, and that was probably the best part of the video for sure. And we'll probably get some more video, other parts of the town. But for now, we had this to look at in the middle of the cold winter. It was 70 degrees here yesterday. It was like 22 this morning, so it's cold. Still winter. So I look forward to the bright, warm days of summer. Not too far away. Hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching, and enjoy your next adventure.